And the award for Best Picture that absolutely would not win today goes to...
You ever rewatch a Best Picture winner and think, wait, this beat Goodfellas? Tonight, we're not like canceling movies. We're doing something worse. We're asking, why the hell did this win? If there's a Best Picture winner you think aged worse than these, drop it in the comments. I enjoy being corrected. Occasionally.
And the Oscar for Most Romantic Emotional Reprogramming goes to My Fair Lady. Ah, yes. The timeless romantic fantasy that asks, what if I insulted you into becoming acceptable? In 1964, this was aspirational. A man takes a working-class woman, tears apart how she talks, walks, and exists, and calls it love. And the culture said, absolutely, transform her. It won because it was spectacle. Big sets, bigger hats, peak studio system muscle flexing. But what ages poorly isn't the production, it's the premise. Depending on how charitable you're feeling, it either ends romantically or it ends like the world's fanciest hostage situation. This film didn't age poorly because it's malicious. It aged poorly because 1964 thought emotional control was romantic. In 2026, Eliza would ghost him and start a podcast. And the Oscar for a Best Simplified Genius Biopic goes to A Beautiful Mind.
All right, quick spoiler warning for a film that came out in 2001. If you somehow avoided this one for 25 years, congrats. A Beautiful Mind follows John Nash, a brilliant, socially awkward mathematician at Princeton who believes he's working on top-secret government code breaking. He has a charming roommate, a mysterious federal handler, a dramatic conspiracy arc, except none of it's real. Late into the story, the film reveals that most of what we've been watching is a manifestation of his schizophrenia. The story then follows his struggle to manage his illness while trying to maintain his career, marriage, and sense of reality. This won because it made schizophrenia feel poetic. Elegant hallucinations, mathematical genius, love conquers all, cliches like that. It's inspirational, it's tidy, it's also, well, simplified. Mental illness here becomes a narrative obstacle, not a lived reality. The real John Nash's life was far more complicated. But complication doesn't win Oscars. Triumph does. This film didn't age terribly, it aged neatly. Sadly though, mental illness isn't cured by love in a montage.
And the Oscar for a Most Cinematic Self-Correction goes to Dances with Wolves.
In 1990, Hollywood discovered empathy. Specifically, white empathy. To be fair, this film is sincere. It's respectful. It's beautifully shot. It also tells a very specific story. A good white man learns the Native Americans are people. Revolutionary, I guess. It won because it allowed the Academy to feel progressive without surrendering the spotlight. After all, the hero is still Kevin Costner. It beat Goodfellas. That fact alone is chaos. This didn't age poorly because it's hateful. It aged poorly because a story about Native survival was framed as a story about one outsider discovering he's actually a good person.
And the Oscar for Most Cathartic National Trauma goes to The Deer Hunter.
The 70s loved one thing, trauma, loudly. The Deer Hunter is brutal, intense, unforgettable. It also turned Vietnam into an operatic Russian roulette metaphor. The Deer Hunter follows 3 steelworkers from Pennsylvania who go from small-town camaraderie to Vietnam. The first hour is wedding, beer, banter, blue-collar Americana. Then war hits. And the film pivots hard into psychological devastation, most famously through repeated Russian roulette sequences that turn trauma into ritual. And it's less concerned with the politics of Vietnam than with how Vietnam shattered American men. It won because America was trying to process guilt, but, you know, from the American perspective. The Vietnamese characters? Mostly terror devices. I mean, is it powerful? Sure, but it's also filtered. This aged poorly not because it's bad filmmaking. It aged because the lens is narrow. And we notice that now.
And the Oscar for the Most Profound Midlife Crisis goes to American Beauty.
1999 was peak suburbia is a prison energy. Middle-aged man hates his job, resents his wife.
Then he develops an intense crush on his daughter's teenage friend and decides this is the moment he becomes alive. So he quits his job, buys a sports car, lifts weights in the garage, and narrates his own spiritual awakening like he's discovered fire. The movie frames all of this as a critique of suburban emptiness. Today, we're less sympathetic. This film won because it felt edgy, transgressive, bold. Now it feels, I don't know, adolescent? And the Kevin Spacey of it all? Yeah, doesn't help. This didn't age because it's offensive. It aged because its rebellion feels shallow. It mistook cynicism for depth. In 1999, a bag floating in the air felt daring. Now the whole thing feels like a Reddit post.
And the Oscar for a most charming moral blind spot goes to Gigi.
Let's be real. This is a musical about grooming. Gigi is about a teenage girl in turn-of-the-century Paris being raised by her grandmother and great-aunt to basically become a high-class prostitute. Cue Technicolor romance, cue sweeping waltz, cue applause. In 1958, this was delightful Parisian romance. Today, we watch it with a little, well, ability to assess the situation, you know? It won because it was lush, escapist, pre-counterculture. It aged poorly because the fantasy requires you not to think too hard. And we think harder now. And yes, sometimes too hard.
And the Oscar for most comforting conversation about race relations goes to Green Book.
Yes, I was also like, oh yeah, I forgot about that movie. Which is a problem when the film is less than a decade old. A working-class Italian-American bouncer gets hired to drive a refined, world-class black pianist through the segregated American South in the 1960s.
Let's face it, this won because it made racism digestible.
It's comforting. It's also streamlined. One of the film's most famous bonding moments suggests Don Shirley had never eaten fried chicken.
His family disputed this, saying it was implausible and reductive. The scene plays into stereotype-based bonding, flattening cultural identity for a sentimental beat.
The conflict resolves neatly. The tension softens. History feels manageable.
It won because the Academy likes stories where racism can be overcome by proximity and pasta. Look, it didn't age terribly. It just aged, I don't know, safe? And safe is rarely memorable.
And the Oscar for most polite progress narrative goes to Driving Miss Daisy.
All right, before we even get into this one, yes, it's the spiritual cousin of Green Book. We got an older white person, a black chauffeur, and a car as emotional therapy chamber. New decade, but pretty much the same vehicle, metaphorically and literally. Over time, their relationship deepens. The film tracks decades of social change in the background, while their friendship becomes the emotional focus. This beat, Do the Right Thing, that alone made it controversial. It won because it reassured. It didn't challenge. It said, things improve, slowly, politely. That was comforting in 1989. Now, we're less patient with polite progress.
And the Oscar for most blunt moral thesis goes to Crash.
This is the one where Los Angeles becomes a moral pinball machine.
Multiple strangers, cops, politicians, locksmiths, district attorneys, wealthy couples, all collide over the course of a few days. Every character is either racist, affected by racism, or dramatically confronting racism in a scene that feels like it was designed for an acting reel. Crash believes something very bold. Everyone is equally racist. Which sounds fair, until you think about it for 6 seconds.
It won because it felt urgent, interconnected, important. It beat Brokeback Mountain. History hasn't forgotten that.
Thing is, racism isn't a personality flaw you offset with one good deed. It's a system. And the film reduces that system into a collection of ironic coincidences and tidy arcs.
It also announces its themes constantly. Characters deliver the message, the score swells on cue. It's emotionally manipulative in a very mid-2000s prestige way.
Crash doesn't age poorly because it tried to talk about race. It ages poorly because it simplifies race into, we're all a little bit bad, but also a little bit good.
And the Oscar for most grandly romanticized past goes to Gone with the Wind.
Right. Deep breath. This film was revolutionary filmmaking for 1939. Massive sets, technicolor spectacle, operatic scale.
But it basically romanticizes the Confederacy and frames the plantation as lost elegance.
The story follows the fiercely determined daughter of a wealthy Georgia plantation owner as the American Civil War destroys the world she's always known.
At its core, it's a sweeping romantic epic about survival, obsession, and pride, set against the collapse of the Confederacy.
But the film frames the Old South as a lost, tragic elegance. And that framing is the part that lands very differently now. In 1939, that framing aligned with what white America wanted to believe about its past.
Look, this isn't about canceling a classic. It's about recognizing that when a movie this big romanticizes a false version of history, it doesn't just entertain.
It influences how generations remember. And that's why it feels complicated.
You notice the pattern? We keep telling the same stories. A white character learns empathy, we applaud. A nation feels complicated guilt, we package it as prestige. Older men rediscovering vitality through younger women, transforming them, desiring them, fixing them. Apparently that theme never goes out of style.
And what's wild is we're still having the same conversations. About race, about power, about nostalgia, about who gets centered in a story.
It's not that these films are evil. It's that they reflect anxieties we haven't resolved. And probably won't. Because culture doesn't solve things. It reframes them. And then gives them an award. All right, clearly my gummy has kicked in. Let me know what films I've missed down below. Oh, and subscribe and stuff, I guess, if you're still here.